Hey everybody, Fight Club Hubs here, and this is a retrospective of the Tomb Raider franchise. More importantly, I'm going to talk about the first game. I did a retrospective, a fan documentary, if you will, with some friends I did a few years ago, Mark B. and a friend Gabriel, and Jaxel from 8-Way Run, so check out the link at the bottom of this video to check out that three-part retrospective of the entire franchise leading up to the reboot. The Tomb Raider franchise, 20 years, wow, to the day. I still remember installing the game and getting it to play in DOS when I got my PC copy from my uncle for Christmas. That is probably one of the first games I ever played that actually frustrated me early on because I just couldn't get the hang of tank controls. But eventually I got the hang of it. I mean, it was pretty hard to play with the keyboard. I mean, this is before we had, programs that could, map buttons from the keyboard to the mouse or to a controller. So I made do with what I could. A lot of us did in the mid 90s. So when I played the first Tomb Raider game, a lot of thoughts that popped into my head was just how breathtaking the game was when it first came out. It was, granted, the environments and everything else about the game look dated now, but the graphics at the time blew me away. Lara Croft, the model, yeah, sure, we understand that, the triangular tits were maybe a little off the wall, and a lot of jokes were made about that stuff, including stuff in regards to the rumored nude code, which was later just a patch made by some horny fanboys. But the game itself, it still stands out the test of time, in my opinion. The way you solve puzzles in that game were very intuitive. I still remember some of the ones involving, finding gears in order to get a door to open. I still remember having to learn how to outwit, booby traps in temples. Having to make it to the final boss at the end of the game, which was a pain in the butt, especially since the levels leading up to that were just getting harder and more frustrating as you go. The level design was brilliant, I thought, in my opinion, and with the type of gameplay they had for the tank controls, I think it worked perfectly, and it was just such a great game. So many memorable moments. I mean, like I touched on in the video, yeah, the T-Rex, it was great to run into. The fact that I played a game that had a lot of voice acting. I mean, sure, I played games on the Sega CD like Snatcher and pretty much all the FMV games and whatnot, but but those were like, mostly ports taking advantage of the CD-based hardware, to have, better audio. So it was all right. But then when you had the PlayStation, the Saturn, and the PC, and they were just like going head-on with FMV sequences, with full voice acting, I was just really blown away. Voice acting, surprisingly, was really good, especially considering this is from an era where voice acting was still very new in video games, and most of it was not very good at all. I mean, there's a website called Audio Atrocities that literally is dedicated to preserving the audio files of all this really, really bad takes from voice actors. Like I said, I touched on the graphics. The game looked beautiful, I mean, and the environments were huge. I really loved the amount of freedom you had in the game in order to branch out and explore. And as an icon, Lara Croft is definitely one of the most iconic characters of all time, if not probably in the top 5 because of her contributions to the gaming community as a whole. Yeah. Sexy body aside, I think she was definitely the forefront for female gamers in the world because she had the attitude of a go-getter. She was adventurous. She was daring. She had no shits to give, and she just went head on. I mean, she was also smart and very calculating about how she did stuff. She was extremely witty. The character was just well developed, and throughout the years, I mean, sure, she had the game quality had downward spiral, but the character still stood out and was, I mean, even popular enough to get 2 movies and now reboot movie franchises on the way. 2 a new franchise and then a couple of side games, which were also a lot of fun. I'll talk about my top 5 maybe favorite Tomb Raider games in a future video, so keep an eye out on that. It could be a possibility. But overall, I just want to say thank you, Tomb Raider. Happy 20th anniversary, and this is Fight Club Hubs. Peace.